All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have a colossal Ubisoft grift on our hands. Okay,
God damn!
okay, we got to talk about it. We have got to talk about it. So, your boy Endymion recently dropped a video where he allegedly has some insiders speaking to him about what's going on at Ubisoft, and according to many, it's a doozy. So,
Mama, I remember we would sleep on that floor. Cardboard box had the tape down.
it's been a while since we did this kind of grift. So we just gonna go ahead and get right into it. But before we do, we got a grift. Okay. Guys, remember, 15,000 subs is what we got to get to if you want to see me play Dustborn in full-blown clown fit. Okay. I'm not looking forward to it. Right now, we are like fastly moving towards it. And so, yeesh. Anyway, that's it. Also, as always, check out the Squabble Shop. That is not the Squabble Shop. So let's get back to the grift. Okay. Let's get back to the grift. All right. Let's go ahead and, as always, guys, we're gonna put this thing on at least 1.25. Like, I only got so much patience.
Hey everyone, it's Endymion, and recently I've been talking to some sources about Assassin's Creed Shadows behind the scenes and a lot of things that are happening at Ubisoft and even other game studios as well. And the things that I've been getting told are pretty damning. So with their consent, I've been able to make this video and present you the various things that they've told me. I vetted these sources, and they have indeed worked with Ubisoft for many years, as well as other game studios as well. They've even told me things about games that aren't released yet that I actually can't even say, because I think if I do that, assassins from other studios will probably barrel roll through my window and then take me out John Wick style. So
I wouldn't have brought it up. I just wouldn't have brought it up.
anyways, I will spend this video explaining the absolute state of Assassin's Creed Shadows, Star Wars Outlaws apparently being referred to as Red Dead, Star Wars internally, and more. And there's other stuff that you
Hold on,
just
wait,
gotta hear.
you're not just
because a lot
gonna.
of this
No, we're not just gonna speed past that. Say that one more time.
being referred to as Red Dead, Star Wars internally, and more. And there's
Why the fuck you lying?
Well, let me turn it down. That might have been a little bit loud.
other stuff that you just gotta hear because a lot of this is just absolutely insane. So in my previous video, I explained that Paul Tassi of Forbes said in his article about the Ubisoft implosion that those extra months had been given to possibly reduce or even completely remove Yasuke from Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Which, by the way, is a pipe dream. There's no way that happens, right? You're too far in the game. Like, I'm pretty sure there's parts of the story that absolutely plays into his blackness, and no way they remove that from the game.
My source told me, however, that they heard February 2025 is simply a placeholder release date as of now. Apparently, this is because Ubisoft is scrambling and they need certain key talent in order to assist on a Q2 game release. Which, if you don't know what that means, there's 4 quarters to a calendar year, so Q2 means Ubisoft has something that they think will hit that is coming out later in the year that they need help on. So because talent at the studio is working to make that future release come out more smoothly, Shadows is not being given the extra hands it kind of needs right now, so like I said, the release date may actually be pushed back even further.
Damn.
God damn!
I mean, that would make sense, right? For it to get pushed back even further because, I mean, you're releasing in the same month as Monster Hunter, Avowed, and Convergence. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know the name of the game.
I was also told when they originally saw the game, there was indeed a male Japanese protagonist with their own finalized art and even animations. They don't know if this character will be reintroduced in order to replace Yasuke, but they are skeptical that Ubisoft will actually remove Yasuke altogether due to the whole political, backlash they
Right.
get from journalists and so on. They did say that the game's first act is heavily story-driven until it eventually opens up to your more traditional open-world Ubisoft experience. And that the big hurdle there, if they were to remove Yasuke, would be to practically change almost everything about Act 1, so to speak, if they were to remove the character entirely. So could they remove Yasuke with this already done but thrown aside Japanese character? It's a big maybe, but they
So if I interpreted that correctly, there actually was a male Japanese, either samurai or shinobi, and I guess it could be that they could remove Yasuke if they can just put him in if the character's already been designed and all of that, which is strange. That's strange. I mean, but I'm not gonna sit here and pretend to know how actually designing the game works. So
said that they weren't sure of it yet. They also told me they heard rumblings that Sweet Baby Inc. may have had a hand in Shadows, but they can't confirm that 100% yet. So take that allegation with a huge big fat shot of skepticism right now, okay? But like I was saying, the game did first include a male Japanese main character, but they were swapped sometime during 2020, according to my source for Yasuke instead. So this is where stuff
2020. You know what lines up with 2020? George Floyd. How much you want to? I'm not even gonna speculate. Nah, fuck it. I'm gonna speculate. They probably saw George Floyd in that whole situation and was like, "Oh yeah, perfect opportunity to put a nigga in the game. You just can't make this shit up." Oh, I don't have that sound. Sorry.
stuff gets really weird and pandering. But I asked them what influenced Ubisoft to make the change that
Oh,
they
here we
did
go.
from the original Japanese male character to now Yasuke. They said that Ubisoft was heavily influenced by the socio-political events
Told
of
you.
the time.
Told
Stuff
you.
like, and no, I'm not kidding,
Told
George
you.
Floyd dying, the riots, and
Told
Black
you.
Lives Matter exploding in support. So don't shoot the messenger here, but this is what I was told by this source, but Ubisoft may have opted to include Yasuke in order to pander to identity politics because of Black Lives Matter. I know, it's a hell
I understand that this is coming from Endymion, but I'm just saying, we told you niggas.
of a statement. Again, they said they cannot confirm 100%, but they did say that they have seen the original Japanese hero character and that they were actually mortified when they saw Yasuke for the first time in the game. Apparently, one of the videos that Ubisoft was showing of Yasuke originally, and no, I'm not kidding you, was Yasuke destroying a grocery store property with his weapons in order to show the game's physics engine. But the source said that they couldn't believe how tone-deaf Ubisoft was, being considering they were literally showing a black guy in a foreign country destroying property. This lack of knowing what to do with shadows was all over the game, and like I said, Yasuke was inserted for identity political reasons.
That's what we've been saying. Mighty Cuck. He was only put in the game to pander. Everybody knows it. You know it. They know it. The people who the game was designed for know it. Yasuke was only put in this game to pander to black people, and it backfired. And that's why they're delaying the game, because either they're delaying the game because the game is trash, garbage, bugs, cheats, and they need to fix it, or two, they wanted to get away from all of the negative press. I really don't believe they're going to remove Yasuke from the game. I don't believe it. I have to see it to believe it.
Reasons. The source also said that Ubisoft was horrified by the response to Yasuke from the fandom, and they actually thought including him would be a really big selling point for the game.
Why? Why would you think that? What?
They apparently believed by inserting Yasuke that they could garner and pander to the modern audience, which is cringe. But yes, these studios
No way they used that language when they was talking to him. He must be paraphrasing. No way they actually said that. I don't believe that a dev maybe I don't know.
are still trying to pander to these groups that, like I've said so many times, they literally do not exist. Another very damning allegation I was told by sources was that compared to Assassin's Creed Valhalla, that Shadows has only about 7% the pre-order numbers of Valhalla during the same time period. Yes, you heard that right, guys. 7% of Valhalla.
If that's true, remember when I said I didn't think that Assassin's Creed Shadows would flop?
Why the fuck you lying?
Maybe it will. If that's true. Again, this is all rumor. This is Endymion is the source here. So I'm not saying that like he's an untrustworthy source. I'm just saying it's not official. So
that other report where Stuttering Craig, a side-scroller, said Shadows only had about 800 physical pre-orders over about 900 plus stores in America, he is telling the truth, my friends. So it's pretty evident that Ubisoft delayed the game not only due to backlash, but because they were getting next to nothing pre-order-wise when compared to Valhalla, or even Mirage even. I don't have exact concrete numbers on Valhalla's pre-orders prior to launch. However, remember that Valhalla is Ubisoft's second most profitable game of all time, and it's only beaten by Rainbow Six Siege. So Shadows currently, as of the making of this video, or like a month ago, I guess, has about 7% of that, if you can believe it. I was also told that Ubisoft has made Shadows the most microtransaction-filled experience from launch compared to any other previous title that they have ever released in the franchise.
damn, they was really trying to monetize that ass. I remember I literally stopped playing Valhalla because the game just wanted you to just sit there and beat your dick while paying for microtransactions. That's all they wanted you to do. The level of grind that game wanted and the level of time, I said, no, nope, not doing it. Go fuck yourself. I don't want it. Okay.
So we're talking load the DLC armor, weapons, mounts, trinkets, etc. for both characters, all for premium costs. which of course is nonsense because the game is full price at launch. But they actually thought, according to my source, that Shadows would be doing better than Valhalla. And no, I am not kidding. Besides the abysmal pre-orders, the thing that actually spooked Ubisoft more than anything else was how Japan reacted to the one-legged Torii Gate figurine. Remember that's the merchandise product where Yasuke and Naoe are standing on.
That was recent. That was absolutely recent. I'm sorry, guys. I gotta get this up to 1.5. Oh, I can't. I gotta keep it on 1.25. I'm sorry. I'm so impatient.
Symbol of Nagasaki getting the atom bomb dropped on them, yet these characters take place in Japan well before that even happens. And this culturally devastating piece that proved that Ubisoft was not adequate enough to make the game or really know anything about the time period, it led to the higher-ups admitting defeat and demanding that the game get a cultural do-over, if you will. They wanted things to be more authentic because the one-legged Torii Gate incident was so embarrassing and baffling that they didn't want anything else like that to ever happen again in their history. So that's another big reason for you. As of now, from what I've been told, February 2025 is being chosen because Ubisoft believes there will be a AAA gaming drought around that time period. So they're hoping...
Wait. Say that again?
And baffling that they didn't want anything else like that to ever happen again in their history. So that's another big reason for you. As of now, from what I've been told, February 2025 is being chosen because Ubisoft believes there will be a AAA gaming drought around that time period. So they're hoping that they can capitalize by releasing Shadows then instead of November 15th, which was its original release date.
Nah, that's got to be a typo. That's got to be or a Speako or one of those. That's got to be wrong because there's 3 AAA games coming out in February. The fuck are he talking about? I don't know. Avowed, something Deliverance, Convergence or something. I forgot what that game is called. And then Monster Hunter Wilds. So I don't know. Smelling like tap.
Even though there are plenty of games coming around that time, like Monster Hunter Wilds will release in that same period, which makes me believe that Ubisoft will indeed push the game even further back than intended. One of the things for sure getting removed from Shadows, according to my sources,
okay, so he corrected himself.
The rap hip-hop music for Yasuke. Apparently, Ubisoft brought out a questionnaire, and they were unanimously told that the rap music was tonally wrong and completely unneeded, and that it was.
But how do you even like? Here's the thing: who even told you that was a good idea? You cannot convince me that there were black people working on this and told you that was a good idea. There's no way. That's why I'm like, are you trying to pander so hard that you're coming off as racist? Like, how disrespectful. Are you going to put a nigga in Japan and disrespect the Japanese? And then when the nigga fights, I got to listen to hip hop music? Are you out of your fucking mind? Now you pissing off the niggas. And then I'm even more pissed off at the niggas who was trying to pretend like they was cool with it. Oh yeah, sure. You're just a bigot. You're just a alt-right grifter. Get the fuck out of here, man. How offensive is that?
Ubisoft believed Yasuke needed a hip-hop battle theme in a game that was set well before such music existed, and it was only implemented because Yasuke was black, so that's going to be gone for sure. They're also removing dialogue from the game that, according to my source, told me that it would actually enrage players if they heard it. I wasn't given concrete examples of what kind of dialogue, but the source assumed it may have been Yasuke saying some sort of socio-political pandering nonsense.
Of course.
About how he was sold by white men or something, and that he hates white men and white supremacy must be abolished and such. They're also removing this because, of course, if that were in the game, it would absolutely be highlighted and used to detract even more people from supporting the game in the future. Also, during development, one of the hardest things to implement for Ubisoft, apparently, was the parry system, according to sources. And allegedly, Shadows was also going to be the last game in the series that would feature the RPG-like gameplay mechanics that started in Origins, and that future releases would instead go back to what the series was most known for, which was more of an action-adventure style. Just look at Unity.
See, here's the thing. Here's the thing that sucks. Like, I actually like Yasuke's design. He would kill it as like this mysterious figure. Like if you was playing as like a Japanese man and there's this mysterious figure, Yasuke, who's big as shit. And if you want to use him as a good guy who you team up with, and he's like using him as kind of like, what's a game like, remember in Final Fantasy 16 where you would like power up to the big fucking fire monster and shit? Like using Yasuke should be like that. right? Like you normally play as this shinobi who's a man, right? And I'm seeing some of the gameplay here where she's using I forgot what the whip what is it called? I know the name of it. I can't think of it. Either way, the chain with the blade on the end, I forgot the name of it. But she's using that. That would be cool to use, right? And then when you get into like big battles where it's like, okay, I'm obviously supposed to be using stealth here, but I fucked up and I alerted everyone, and I don't have the power to fight all of these people. I can't whistle, y'all. I'm sorry. I can't whistle. But you know what I'm trying to do? Yasuke! And then Yasuke pop up. You take control of Yasuke and you start whipping niggas' ass. I think the Japanese would be okay with that. I think they'd be okay with that. You know what I'm saying? And the different skill set would be, obviously he's a samurai, but he's a powerhouse because historically speaking, Yasuke was bigger than everybody. At least they got that part right. Yasuke was bigger than everybody, according to what they said in the text. So, or if you want to use him as a villain, I mean, what I would do a combination of both. I would have a story centered around this black samurai who everybody hates because what's his name? Naga I'm fucking up. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm black. Give me a break. He's being used as like a hitman to go and eliminate his master's enemies and stuff like that. And Yasuke think he's doing it for a good cause, but he doesn't know that everybody hates his master and they call him the demon for a reason. And then you fight him, and it's like this big boss fight where Yasuke's beating your ass and he's a powerhouse, but you end up winning, and then you convince him to join your side, and then you unlock him as like a extra feature you can use in fights and stuff. Whether you call him in to team up, or you can take control of him and fight enemies that are too big for you to handle yourself. That could have been amazing, but instead you wanted to pander, you wanted to virtue signal, and now you're here.
Unity or, Assassin's Creed 2, that kind of thing instead. With stuff like the more timed combat of the original and such, and apparently the RPG stuff is
like, think of him as a villain, right? Just really quiet, doesn't say much. He's just killing people that's innocent. He doesn't know they're innocent. He's just doing what he's told. And then you discover his story. Oh, he was a slave who's just, his life was spared. They taught him how to be a samurai, and now he's just going around doing his master's bidding. And then you're able to show him, hey, you don't have to serve this guy, do the whole try to save him thing. And then you team up with him to save Japan. That would be amazing.
Very difficult.
But because you're activists up there and you're virtue signaling and you're pandering, you don't have the mental capacity to think of a story like that because you're an activist.
To implement, and Ubisoft wants to lessen the load, as they say, in future games. I was also told that the next Assassin's Creed, which is called Hexi or Hex, which is set during the Salem witch trials, was being internally claimed, and get this, to be the gayest Assassin's Creed yet.
So instead of doing an Assassin's Creed in South Africa, you gave us a nigga samurai, and now you're doing the Salem witch trials because you got to give us those women, right? You could have did something in South Africa. You could have copy and pasted Black Panther and pasted it on. You could have created your own Wakanda, just not as advanced. But nope. We get this.
Told that it only has a single female protagonist, and it's also the most fantastical Assassin's Creed yet. There will be lots of mysticism, and will also have, as they said, very striking visuals. I don't know if that means an entirely different art style or anything, but this is what I was told. It will still be an open world action game like the other ones, but from what I've been told, it is the biggest departure yet for the series. My sources claim that Hex or Hexi, whatever it's called, is very, very female power oriented. We are talking lots of lesbian relationships and female characters. It has witch covens and apparently very little masculine presence within the game. Although my sources told me that they believe that the game will be scaled down in the future and then made into a liberation-esque game instead of a mainline title. If you know the one that had, like the smaller games. Anyway, let's keep going. Mostly because Ubisoft does not have confidence that Hex will sell well at all, and this too was put into development when a lot of these pandering games were first being pitched or made. Internally, as I was being told, the developers behind Hex joked that the game will indeed piss off the fan base, but they wanted to make it anyway. I assume because the game is devoid of male characters, besides, of course, the ones you probably kill or hunt. And like I said, it's going to have borderline magic at this point in the Assassin's Creed series, so expect lots of weird Isu gobbledygook, I guess, as well. But
So basically, despite the fact that they know it's not going to perform well, they're going to make it anyway because they want to do what? Own the chuds? I mean, you do realize this doesn't hurt us. Like, it doesn't hurt us. We find other shit to play. So, like, if you release a game that we don't want to play, we just don't play it. We laugh and dance on your grave as your game underperforms, burns to the ground, people get fired, laid off, and we're playing Space Marine 2 or Black Myth Wukong or whatever else has come out that year that's blown the doors off of expectations. Let's keep going.
that's what I was told about Hex so far. They also told me that there's not a chance in hell that Ubisoft doesn't go bankrupt, and that Ubisoft's backup plan, if they were to get a bailout or if things were to turn around so that they could actually, exist in the future and not just immediately cease all operations, would be to immediately shift all gears and then remake the original Assassin's Creed game, which is apparently not in development right now. And they also will pivot and just remake the entire Ezio trilogy as well in order to just garner goodwill and get the support from the players again. These sources also believe that Hex will likely never see
How about you give us Splinter Cell? What's so hard about that? Just give us Splinter Cell.
the light of day, but if it does, they will be actually shocked if it's not canceled or at the very least reduced dramatically in scope. I'm also told that many game studios are aware of Gamergate 2, and while they fear the implications of being caught in that war, that many studios have no desire or will to change their games to appeal to core audiences anymore. According to my sources, and this
Sounds
was
about right.
one of the most damning allegations, so please listen carefully here, is that the game industry, across plenty of studios, will start to market their games as being devoid of identity politics and pandering almost completely. However, the actual content within these games in the future will not be altered or lessened in terms of identity political content, despite this tonal change in marketing. Simply put, many studios and publishers are still all in on DEI and wokeness in the future. Like, they are not changing that. And they still want you to consume this content, whether you want to or not, but they will now sell you the games by marketing them to you to trick you into thinking that they're not woke, basically. And then
Okay. Now, on one end, okay, do that. I've been saying it for the longest. Shut the fuck up. Let the game or the movie or whatever it is speak for itself. Don't market it as that. And if the game comes out and it hits the audience it's supposed to hit and no controversy, congratulations. We'll see whether it performs or not. But when you market your game as being woke, the gayest game ever, the most black game ever, the most whamming game ever, oh yeah, we're going to dance on you every time. Now, how woke is it though? That's where we're going to have to rely on content creators to let us know that. Now, what they're going to do is the studios are going to make sure that the media gets the games in their hands first. Content creators? No. And I'm talking about content creators who can play the game like Fighting Cowboy. He always seems to get a playthrough up before the game release. You're not going to see that. You know what I'm saying? And if you do, they're going to say, don't put this in the game. Don't put that in the game. I hope that content creators don't accept that because that could ruin your reputation.
you will buy it, and then sometime into these future experiences, all the wokeness, I guess, will reveal itself, and then you will be probably too far into these games in order to refund them, and then these studios and publishers will then make their money. I asked my sources if they were sure of this. They said that they were, and that this is damning. So it looks like we're about to be getting some 4D chess moves from the industry soon, so expect a lot of deceiving marketing tactics that will be tricking you into buying games that you wouldn't normally buy yourself. So if we didn't stay vigilant enough before, we definitely have to in the future, it seems. I was also told that Ubisoft internally wants to make games that will, as I wrote in my big info doc here that I'm referencing from, they want female characters to dominate the world and the games industry. Like, they want every game that they make to feature female protagonists in leading roles and lots of diversity and little to no white men at all within lead roles anymore.
You can't make this shit up. You just can't make this shit up. I'm telling you, the moment you let these women come in and take your hobby, it's over. It's over.
Hope that, according to my sources, that if they did this, that the game industry would all follow in suit. And this is basically being done because they want to erase masculinity from gaming altogether. I wish I was kidding, but hey, this
is where it starts to get a little bit skeptical for those of you who don't like to wear the tinfoil hat. Do we believe that behind closed doors that people are intentionally trying to erase masculinity? Me personally, I do believe that. Do I believe that they're talking about it out loud? Do I believe that they're going into boardrooms saying masculinity, we got to get rid of it? Do I believe that? My mind is telling me no. But my body is telling me yes. Yeah, I think so. But I understand if you're approaching that with a little bit of skepticism. I understand that. It's something that's hard to believe. But our disbelief of it is the reason why it's happened so much in the industry. I mean, look around, guys. We didn't come to these conclusions that's being revealed to us right now by just guessing. We've all seen this stuff play out in the industry. And if Endymion is to be believed, or if his source is to be believed, this is absolutely happening behind closed doors.
This is what my sources were telling me. So take that as you will, fellas. I was also told that the project that ruined Ubisoft was not actually Outlaws or Shadows. It was actually Skull and Bones. My sources told me they have seen multiple different versions of the game that were each completely different over the years. They said that they were told that the budget that was spent on Skull and Bones, it ranged somewhere from $650 to $850 million over 10 years. And that Skull and Bones failed so badly for Ubisoft, it was the actual reason why they're dying the way that they are right now. It's not actually Outlaws and Shadows, if you can believe it. So they sunk a legendary amount of resources into that game, and
I mean, that shouldn't be surprising. How much did he say they sunk into this game?
$850 million that were each completely different over the years. They said that they were told that the budget that was spent on Skull and Bones, it ranged somewhere from $650 to $850 million.
Nah! What the? You put almost $1 billion into that? Ubisoft! What are you? Oh my God! There's no way. There's no way they put almost $1 billion into that game. Guys. A billy almost? Wow.
Dollars over 10 years. And that Skull and Bones failed so badly for Ubisoft, it was the actual reason why they're dying the way that they are right now. It's not actually Outlaws and Shadows, if you can believe it.
Quadruple
So they
A.
sunk a legendary amount of resources into that game, and it clearly did not work out for them at all. They actually believed that Outlaws and Shadows would be the games to pull them out of financial ruin after what happened with Skull and Bones. So in terms of Star Wars Outlaws, and this is crazy, I was told that Ubisoft was devastated internally by the sales in response to Outlaws, and that they actually thought that they would make, and no, I am not kidding, they thought Outlaws would do, as my sources tell me, Red Dead Redemption 2 levels of profit.
You can't make this shit up. You can't make this shit up. These guys, listen, guys, these people think that they're gods. They really do. That is the only explanation for this. They think that they're gods. They believe because they have the ability. This is what happens when you bring in people who don't have the humility. See, the people who were making games for all of those years, remember, gaming wasn't that popular. And the people who were making the games was a wee bit humble. As gaming got more and more popular, started bringing in more and more money, the demand for games started to grow. Now you get these people in here who come in with no humility at all. Okay? None. No humility. No humility. They think that they're gods. What about this game? One more time.
Internally being called during development as Red Dead Star Wars. They thought they had a mega multiple franchise spin-off series in the works that would change the industry for the better in their opinion.
A series?
You what?
The original pitch for Outlaws was actually a Mandalorian game. So, Massive is the studio that made Outlaws. They also made the Division games too. Apparently, the original vision for Outlaws was the Division, but instead of agents, each player was their own Mandalorian instead.
No! We were supposed to get the Mandalorian / the Division? Now, let me tell you something. I was never a fan of the Division. The reason why is I can't get behind playing as realistic military characters, sinking an entire magazine of AK-47 ammo into a person, and the motherfucker's not going down. I can't get with it. Halo, yes. Destiny, yes, because this is sci-fi. But Call of Duty, Battlefield, Rainbow Six Siege, it take me 3 magazines to kill you. But if you take that and you make it the Mandalorians, where I get to customize my helmet and I get to have a jetpack, or I get to have a zip, or whatever the hell, flamethrower, knee rockets, whatever. Are you out of your mind? And you traded it in for ma'am Solo? Y'all niggas deserve to go under.
Mandalorian families and crests, and you could swear your allegiance to whoever you wanted to. And the idea was to have this multiple world spanning galaxy, always online action RPG adventure game where you could tackle bounties and quests with your friends or by yourself as your own fully customizable Mandalorian. You could
imagine fighting Jedis with that shit. Imagine getting the Beskar spear that my boy Din Djarin had. Something like that. Being a melee. Oh my god.
buy new pieces of gear, like in the Division, and then swap out your guns for different stats and, make your own builds. And there would be endgame content where
imagine having a dark saber. Fighting a Jedi. Imagine a story mode where at the end of the game you unlock the dark saber and you get to fight a Jedi using the dark saber.
your friends could jetpack around and fight in third-person cover-based shooting.
We got robbed.
Obviously, it's Star Wars. This sounded amazing to me. I don't know why they didn't do it, but maybe it was too ambitious, I guess. And eventually, Massive would then shelve the idea and instead went all in on Criminal Empire stuff, and then they reduced their vision of the game into a solo single-player game that you know now. Also, from its inception, Outlaws was always intended to have a female main character too. Originally, as I was told, Kay Vess was actually an Indian woman, but they eventually brought on Humberly Gonzalez to play the character, but Ubisoft internally didn't want Kay Vess to be fully Latina either. So they ended up with this weird mix of a character that they wanted to pass as vaguely every ethnicity possible, and that was actually intended by design. It was
That makes sense. That's why she looks so goddamn weird.
referred to, as my source said, as an omni-racial main character. So if you're wondering why Kay Vess doesn't look fully white, Latino, Asian, black, whatever, now you know. They literally made the most ethnically ambiguous main character they could. Apparently, Massive was chosen for Outlaws by Ubisoft because the Division game sold well, and they wanted to make Massive their new premier studio, so to speak. But like I said, originally, they wanted all of their games to star women of color or diversity, whatever, with little to no white men at all. This is why Shadows has Noway and no male option, and black characters, even male ones, are considered on par with importance to Ubisoft in terms of female representation or diversity. Black men are seen as a priority to push in franchises over white men too, according to what I've been told. So if you're wondering why everything they've made recently is so diverse and checks all the boxes, you're not being crazy, it's all being done by design. Also, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora was a massive loss for Ubisoft as well, but they saw the game more as a beta test for the Snowdrop engine, and for Massive to familiarize themselves with open world sandbox.
Part of this is part of this I find a lot of this believable is because we're getting little nuggets of stuff that makes sense. It just lines up.
Style games. And they were hoping that while Avatar failed, that they could use their newfound expertise and experience to turn their next game, which was Outlaws, into Ubisoft's Red Dead Redemption-like experience, which is still insane, but that's what they thought. They actually thought that Outlaws was as good as Red Dead internally. This is what I was told, man, but yeah, that is... Oh god, that is
Now
crazy.
for the record, I never played Red Dead. Sorry, I'm not a whole. I get I wear the cowboy hats and all of that stuff like that because I just couldn't get into Red Dead Redemption. My little brother loves Red Dead Redemption. I can't get into it. I can't. Now the funny thing is, I really like Evil West. So.
Some more random things I was told was that Far Cry 6 broke even. It did make some profit, but it actually didn't perform the way that Ubisoft intended it to. And that their next games that are coming out, which I'm not allowed to say because my sources told me to not say them, they said the future games that Ubisoft has for 2025 and 26, assuming that, they make it that far, are even less impressive than Outlaws or Shadows, and based on what they were telling me about them, I believe them. There is a lot of slop coming in the future from Ubisoft if they make it to those release dates. They also had some information on Ghost of Yotei. and they'll be giving me more in the future once they find more out. But apparently, Ghost of Yote blindsided many people that were working at Sony who were not made aware of what Sucker Punch was making. And that people in the mid-levels at Sony were actually confused when Yote was announced because they were under the impression
that they was getting Jin Sakai.
a sequel.
Oh, my bad. Hold up. That's the only thing he can say. They thought they was getting another Jin story. They thought they was getting another Jin Sakai story.
And they are not happy at all when it comes to the response of that game either.
I didn't hear it.
Because they were under the impression that Jin Sakai would be getting a sequel, and they are not happy at all when it.
Boom! I pray that this is accurate information. I pray that it is, because that's exactly what I said. You did it for DEI purposes.
Comes to the response of that game either internally at Sony right now. Like I said, I should hopefully have more on Yote eventually.
And that's why I'm telling you, that lends more credence. They kept it under wraps. People at Sony didn't even know. They knew that if the word got out, they would get roasted for it. That's why old girl had us preemptively blocked. That's right. They prepared for it. They're already, the studios are already trying to prepare for the inevitable.
But finally, my source told me that Ubisoft has a massive labor problem right now, and that the actual workforce at their studios that they own are largely incompetent and full of diversity hires and women, which were hired in order to check boxes. Because many of these hires, according to the sources, were brought in to diversify the development teams. The actual talent level over at Ubisoft is apparently far lower than it was even 10 years ago. Most key talent has already left the company completely, and this has led to huge internal problems with dev teams and what they're making right now. There's apparently way too many junior level people and not enough seniors to teach them how to properly.
And that's what I'll be talking about. Our detractors are too focused on the surface level. See, when we see a black character where they don't belong, a woman character where they don't belong, and there's outrage, you're too focused on the surface level. When I see Ghost of Tsushima with a female character, when they already had a home run character in Jin Sakai, you could have easily. Why didn't you just do what Spider-Man did, right? You introduce Miles Morales in the first game, then give him his little spin-off game, little spin-off experience, and then that sold well, decently for what they did. It was basically DLC, and then you put them together in one game, or you can give him his own game. You should have introduced old girl. And I understand that she wouldn't be in the same game. Like you could find a creative way, a vision or something to introduce her in the sequel. And then, okay, so people like the character. Now let's give her her own thing. Instead, to pander to women, I don't care what you say. You can say whatever you want. You are never, ever, 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 ever going to get women to invest in your games as much as men do. Never. You can do as much pandering as you want. You can put as many female characters in there as you want. They not gonna buy it. Women don't like spending their own money on shit they don't give a flying fuck about. There's fucking Twitch thoughts who make millions and won't even buy your game to support it. Who was the last person? Like, what was the last female-led game y'all seen Pokemon play? Don't worry, I'll wait.
Do things, and what ends up happening is that Ubisoft tends to outsource a lot of their development to other countries and their dev teams to help them, because the actual teams that Ubisoft has right now are really bad at their jobs. Apparently, this is what I'm told. My sources also told me that many of the things
surface level. I know when you start putting that virtue signaling stuff, I know there's a problem underneath. That's why y'all be thinking so surface level. It's the problem underneath. It's a symptom of a larger disease. Diversity hires. Checking boxes. These people don't know how to make games like that.
Or the things that I assume when I make my videos are actually not bleak enough. And that the game industry in general is, as they said to me, on fire in every conceivable way, and things are so much worse internally than we even know right now. These sources also told me that the people they know from various studios, ranging from all the usual AAA studios that you know of, that there is a massive, and I can't stress this enough, but a massive problem with witch hunting and identity politics in gaming. and that it's to the point where nobody can question anything, and there's a lot of what's being called these days in the news as toxic positivity, and this is absolutely 100% the case.
Okay. So that, remember I always talk to y'all about feminine warfare? I've heard about this where women, they started this, where women are weaponizing their sexuality to go after men in every single corporate space. Because men can't help themselves, especially when you talk about the game industry. I think Asmongold brought this up one time where you got a bunch of nerds making video games not used to women. Like there wasn't like early on, like women wasn't gravitating to the nearest video game studio to fuck with the nerds creating video games. That wasn't a thing. Maybe it is now. I still doubt it. But now gamers are bigger in our society than they ever were, right? Remember, Kai Cenat, the biggest streamer on the planet, played Elden Ring, and the people over in Elden Ring sent him a statue. I was talking to a girl that I'm dating. She doesn't even play video games like that, and she knows about that. She knows the name Elden Ring, and she knows the statue that Kai Cenat was given because he was playing their game. She knows that. Never played it, don't know what it's about, but she knows that. Why? Because of Kai Cenat. Gamers are on top. Not saying that Kai Cenat is like this huge gamer, but because games are at the top of entertainment now. So now that we know that, these people have come into the industry, these women, they use their sexuality to take advantage of these men who don't know how to move around women, don't know how to protect themselves, and then they can get your ass on up out of there. Oh yeah, I flirted with you at the little party or whatnot, but that didn't give you permission to grab my ass. Now we in HR. You in trouble. Now you up out of here. Notice all of the best devs all left and created their own studios. Moon Studios, fucking what's the guys who left BioWare and made their own studio. Like it's so many like studios that just came out of nowhere and used to work for BioWare, used to work for Activision, used to work for Blizzard, used to work for whatever studio. Right? Let's keep going.
If you're accused of not supporting the current narrative, you are being essentially torn apart as if you're living in a cult pretty much in these studios now. And that this toxic positivity has been getting referenced all over online, and it's literally killing games before they even come out now. If you're wondering why every game from Western studios seems to be pandering or putting women in them like crazy and so on, I'm told you're not crazy at all actually. In fact, you're just recognizing patterns that have been going on for a very long time at this point. My sources also told me that people within Western studios will oust you if you go against the narrative even remotely, and that this witch hunting is being used in order to usurp senior level talent so that new hires with little experience can actually crawl into these way more lucrative and powerful positions that they have no business being in the first place.
Because their goal is not to create good games. Their goal is to do what old boy said in a video: burn the games industry down. That's what they want.
More people like them who think the same way as them getting hired, and that this stagnation of talent and creativity is permeating all throughout a large amount of Western studios right now. So if you think the industry is cooked now, it's in fact far more worse apparently than you could even hope to imagine. But this is what I got for you so far. To reiterate, Yasuke was implemented solely due to identity politics.
He's just recapping. So are any of y'all surprised? I mean, when you got people like Alyssa Mercante and the Mighty Cuck trying to tell you that we're crazy, we're right-wing conspiracy theories, go fuck yourself. Now this is assuming that Endymion isn't lying, okay? I would lie and say I don't have a reason. I don't know Endymion personally. I would lie and say I don't know that he would have a reason to lie. But there are other YouTubers that I've come across in the Hollywood space who often have sources and they speak about things that never come true. What was that? You know what I'm saying? I believed in them a couple of times and it never came true. So I'm just saying. But yeah, though, I don't know if it's true, but if it's not true, and I would think if this is not true, somebody from Ubisoft would easily come out and say, oh no, this isn't true. Why not? Why not come out and say it's not true? Why not come out and say this YouTuber is spreading lies? Why not take him to court? That's what I'm thinking. This YouTuber is spreading lies about our company. Why not take him to court? This is damaging to your brand. He has over 250,000 subscribers. There's 303,000 views on this video. This is damaging to the Ubisoft brand. So if it's a lie, why not take him to court? I don't know. Y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments. As always, may the grift be with you. Griff, I'll talk to y'all later.
Oh, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.